Geographically, the land that makes up modern-day Pakistan is a cradle of human civilization. This soil contains the sprawling brick cities of the ancient Indus Valley and the remnants of massive early Buddhist hubs. But in the official state narrative, those thousands of years of deep history are largely absent. National history effectively begins at the partition in 1947, leaving the millennia that came before it in a historical blind spot. The state was founded as Pakistan, the Pure Land. To validate a nation built entirely on Islamic ideology, the government worked to sever the population's psychological ties to its pre-Islamic past. This raises a question about the nature of a society. What happens when a state manufactures a brand new identity and asks its citizens to simply forget who they used to be? Building a nation by erasing its physical foundations leaves the country without a shared historical anchor. It creates a tension between the state's official story and the physical reality of the land itself. Despite state narratives emphasizing external roots, 95% of Pakistanis are indigenous converts, not Arab or Turkic descendants. On the ground, the population splinters into ancient local hierarchies. These Biradari caste structures, like Rajput lineages, quietly dictate social life far more than the official blueprint. This denial of local roots even applies to the state's own icons. Allama Iqbal, the philosophical architect of Pakistan, was the direct descendant of Kashmiri Pundits. To unify these diverse local backgrounds, the state imported Urdu. It was a language that originated hundreds of miles away in the Indian cities of Delhi and Lucknow, and it was designated as the single national voice. For millions of citizens who speak Punjabi, Balochi, or Sindhi at home, this language policy creates a daily friction. The language of the government and the billboards often feels disconnected from the language of the street. Maintaining this requires constant effort. Treating indigenous culture as secondary creates a deep psychological gap between the people and their mandated national identity. There is a practical cost to this historical erasure. Pakistan possesses world-class archaeological sites, from ancient Buddhist circuits to Mohenjo-Daro, yet the country has struggled to fully embrace or monetize them for global tourism. Celebrating a civilization that predates Islam by thousands of years creates a direct contradiction for a state that defines its very existence through religious purity. Because of this, the state often avoids or rewrites archaeological history to ensure these physical sites don't conflict with the 1947 national narrative. When a state can't integrate its own soil into its national story, these ancient sites stop being assets. They become uncomfortable reminders of a history that doesn't fit the official blueprint. Centering the national identity around a rigid, centralized framework has had direct consequences for ethnic minorities who feel their own heritages are being suppressed. In Balochistan, many view the central government not as a representative body, but as a power from the outside, attempting to overwrite their local traditions and history. That same tension exists with Pashtun groups in the north. Attempting to fit distinct tribal systems into a manufactured national blueprint has contributed to long-standing insurgencies along the borders. While these conflicts are often discussed in terms of economics, they are also a fundamental rejection of the state's attempts to engineer a uniform national identity. When the foundations of a nation are based on deleting the past, the house begins to fracture. Without a shared history to bind people together, the internal borders of the state begin to fray. As these internal cultural ties weaken, the narrative of the state shifts. If a shared history can't hold the population together, the government often turns toward a shared enemy. Anti-India and anti-Hindu animosity becomes a primary tie for a fractured population. It provides a common external focus that helps mask internal divisions. This narrative of perpetual threat is used to justify a military-heavy state. It allows the army to maintain its influence over politics and command a significant portion of the national economy. This leads to the use of proxy groups and asymmetric warfare, methods that keep the external enemy narrative active without escalating to a total war that could threaten the state's existence. A national identity isn't something that can be successfully engineered by deleting the past. A state that refuses to look honestly at its own history ends up in a state of perpetual conflict, not just with its neighbors, but with its own identity.